Hi there, Trisha Peach, host of the Peach Buzz. If you haven't subscribed, remember to like and subscribe below. I am a children's leader. I have been in children's ministry for 23 years. I was a full-time staff children's pastor for 17, and I travel and speak out of my books, including Your Children's Ministry from Scratch. So I'm very happy to see you back again, and today we have an important topic: New Year's resolutions. New Year's resolutions. You probably already knew this, but something like 80% of Americans, their New Year's resolution is to lose weight. And for most of them, I think the new gym memberships last, 14 days, maybe? Today I was listening to a TV show, and the ads kept coming through for Weight Watchers, and then another one, and then another one, and another one. 4 different weight loss places, because guys, this is like Black Friday for the weight loss people. This is big. This is where the weight loss people make all their money, is in January, because everybody signs up for the weight loss plan and the gym membership, and they're never going to eat a carb again, and they throw out all their sugar from Christmas, and they throw out the Christmas cookies, and this time they're going to do it. And of course, I would say the vast majority of those are over before January is done. And why is that? Why is that? Because we really do want to change. We want to make goals in our life. We want things to be different. What do we need to do? What do we need to do for our goals to stick? And how do you even make that goal? How do you make a goal that's going to be successful? Well, I love this whole topic because I'm a goal person. I like to set a goal, have those goalposts, and polish them off. And I know a little bit about what works and what doesn't work as far as goal setting. So if you're ready, here's some good ways to set those goals and reach those goals in this new year. Number 1, you're going to need to set measurable goals. You've heard this from a business standpoint many, many times. Measurable goals. I think why we don't do this is a fear of failure. You don't set a measurable goal because then you can't fail. But you can't know if you won either. You don't know if you did well or not. So instead of saying, I will lose, 20 pounds this year, you just say, I'm going to lose some weight this year. Okay, I suppose that's measurable, because then if you lose an ounce, that counts, I guess. But it's not really a measurable goal. Or you might say, I'm going to look into writing a book this year. That's a little vague. That's hard to measure at the end of the year to see if you succeeded or failed at it. I think we're so afraid of failure. We're so afraid to say, I didn't meet that goal. We can't handle it. So we will have a goal so vague that there's no way we can fail at it. I'm going to be closer to God this year. And that's great. That's a fantastic goal. What are you going to do to get closer to God? Now, if somebody says, I'm going to read through the entire New Testament this year. Okay. Or I'm going to read through the whole Bible this year. That's a measurable goal. But you have to grow up and put your adult pants on and say, that sounds terrible, your adult pants. Not depends. You have to put on your big girl pants or big boy pants and say, I didn't make this goal this year. It's not the end of the year, but to really succeed at your goals, there has to be a risk. So you have to call it out. You have to say, okay, this year I am going to do my first 3K marathon or 5K. I'm going to do that this year. So if you don't, then I didn't meet my goal. Or if you do it, you succeeded. But there has to be a little bit of risk. There has to be a little bit of risk in there, and it needs to be measurable, not some nebulous, I might do some higher education this year. Okay, what are you, narrow that goal down. Let's narrow that down and make it measurable. Secondly, so you want to make it measurable, even though you have a risk of failure then. 2, you need to have it be believable, doable, I think that's part of the problem is people are like, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in January. No, you're probably not going to lose 100 pounds in January unless you had bariatric surgery, and blessings to you. You're probably not going to lose 100 pounds in a month. That's not even usually healthy. So when you set these ridiculous goals that are never going to be met, you're setting yourself up for failure. So you set a goal of, I'm never going to eat a carb again. That might not be a good goal to start with. Or that's it, I'm swearing off chocolate. And then the first time you give in and eat chocolate, you're going to be like, I'm a failure. It's all over. I failed. Okay, let's start with some reasonable goals. Reasonable. You need to think about, am I really never going to eat chocolate again? I'm going to eat chocolate. Yes, I am. And I will be eating some carbs. That's not a realistic goal to say that's never going to happen. So what would be realistic? And you shouldn't say, I'm going to run a 5K tomorrow. No, not unless you've trained, not unless you have been working toward it. Your body's not going to do that, go from totally sedentary on the couch to pro runner in a day. It takes time. So what is your overall goal? Okay, if your overall goal is you want to be able to run a 5K, that's great. Now, that's going to help you with mile markers, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But it needs to be measurable and it needs to be reasonable. It needs to be reasonable. Now, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself in a little, I guess, in a way I am. Your goal also has to be a reach for you. Meaning it's not too easy. It needs to, in my opinion, it needs to be something that you're going to need God's help to do, that you can't just do in your own strength. So if you say, in a year, I'm going to lose 3 pounds, well, that's usually because you're afraid of failure. You don't want to fail. You don't want, your self-esteem can't handle saying, I didn't make my goal this year, or I need to surpass my goal. You don't want to go so high that it's ridiculous. You don't throw yourself off a cliff and say, God's going to catch me before I hit the ground. You need to make it reasonable, but it needs to be a stretch. It needs to be a bit beyond where you've gone before. It needs to be a bit beyond where you are right now. It needs to involve some faith. So say you're like, well, I know I could lose 6 pounds this year. Okay. So you don't say I'm going to lose 200 pounds this year. You could say I'm going to aim for 60 pounds this year off, and I'm going to change my lifestyle. I'm going to get healthy this year. That would be a better goal. I'm going to get healthy this year, but that's not measurable. So you could say, I'm going to lower my cholesterol numbers this year by this much. That would be a measurable goal. And then I'd add a little bit to it to say, okay, with God's help, I'm going to get this far. Because you got to challenge yourself beyond where you can go on just your strength, but without being ridiculous. Therein lies wisdom and prayer. I think people ruin their prayer goals because they start out with, I'm going to pray 4 hours a day and I'm going to read 12 chapters of the Bible. You're going to do that one day and then you're not going to do it anymore. But you could say, with God's help, I am going to pray every day, 5 days a week for X amount of minutes. Now you've outlined it. And then I would add a little bit to those minutes because you're challenging yourself to go a little bit further. And I would also say, if you want to stick with them, these need to be goals of things you're going to do for the long haul, not for just January. I mean the long haul. Our church has done the Daniel fast. I'm all for the Daniel fast. My problem with it is it's 30 days. And then if you go right back to slamming pizza and pasta and don't change your life, the people in my church that lost weight on the Daniel fast gained it right back because it wasn't a permanent change. So what could be changes that would be more permanent to your lifestyle? So you say, okay, on my lunch break, 5 days a week, I'm going to pray this amount, not just for January, but I'm going through the year and build my way up to this with God's help to this, which leads me to my next point, mile markers. If you want to succeed at this goal, you've made it measurable, you've made it realistic, you've made it bigger where you got to stretch yourself, you've made it a long-term goal, not just for January, you're going to need to set mile markers. This is important. I think if you're thinking way off next December, it's like, it flies, doesn't it? The older we get, you blink twice and the year is gone. It's gone. You need mile markers, which mean, okay, you start at the end of the year. So December of this year that we're in right now, I want to be down, let's just say, I want to be down 20 pounds. Okay, then what do I need to be at by September? And then what do I need to be at by May? And what do I need to be at by the end of February? And if I exceed those mile markers, awesome. If I have that all off by September, great. But I need to have those mile markers in there, because sometimes when we are thinking December, it's like, that's so far away. Oh, I'll cram on that. Like you're cramming for a midterm the night before or finals week. It's not a good idea. Have those mile markers in there. So if your goal is to write a book this year, I've written 3 books and several musicals. I know this, when you look at it, it's so overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. Oh man, I have so much to write. Where do I start? If you just look at how enormous that goal is, you're probably going to quit. You're going to give up because you're seeing it as one chunk. You have to get those mile markers in place. So how much are you going to have written by the end of January? How much are you going to have written by the end of March? How much are you going to have written by the end of June? Okay. Like that, so that by the time you get to December, you're done on time and it's measurable. You either know I did finish my book or I didn't finish my book. There's some risk involved in that, which leads me to my next one. Those of you that are already like, oh, I don't want to make it measurable, I don't want to fail, you're really not going to like this next one. You need to actually tell someone else what your goal is. And that's the hardest part, because we don't want to fail, and we have a huge sense of not wanting to trip and fall on our face in front of somebody else. I'm saying somebody mature enough to handle it, somebody that you know has your back, that is for you. I read a study recently that people that tell others what their goal is are something like 90% more likely to actually achieve their goal because of accountability. That's what they do with, say, Weight Watchers. When you go to those meetings, you have accountability. It's, I have to weigh in tomorrow, so I'm going to have to watch what I'm eating. It's accountability, and it's so important. So say with the book writing example, your mile marker is you're supposed to have the first half of your book done by the end of September or end of June. Well, then what I would do is I would tell my accountability partner, I picked somebody who was just awesome, and I said to her, I'm going to send you the first half on June 1st so that you can read over it and tell me what you think. So then I'm thinking, I have to give her the first half by June 1st. I have to give her the first half by June 1st. But it gave me accountability. It gave me a deadline. If you don't have those solid deadlines enforced for you, you're going to have to create them yourself. I need deadlines. It helps me a lot. So here I have the mile markers, and then I add in accountability. So each year with my goals, I share them. I will tell my family, I'm eating healthy this year. I'm not, this stuff is going to have to stay in your bedrooms. I'm not going to have it in the kitchen. Last year I lost 20 pounds, and for me it is a struggle. It is always a fight. It is never easy. I travel so much. I'm in different places all the time, and I love food. I do. Food is awesome. Food with friends. But I had to make those goals to move more every single day. and to change my eating habits for the rest of my life, not just for January. And I had to explain that to my family so that when they see me acting out of character, they know, oop, mom is missing out on her goals. So you have someone there to remind you. I had a fantastic exercise accountability partner before we moved up here, and I miss her because I'd have days where I was tired and I had a headache and I just wanted to sit on the couch and binge watch the History Channel, and she would show up knocking on my door and go, "Hey Trish, it's time to go walking," and I couldn't tell her no. Nobody can tell Mandy no. So I would get up and go walking even though I didn't want to, because somebody was waiting for me. You need an accountability partner, whatever your goal is. Okay, so maybe you and your accountability partner both say, we're going to read through the whole Bible this year. Then you meet. When are you going to meet? How often are you going to meet? When are you going to meet to say, this is what I learned, this is what I read? Maybe you're reading through the Bible with your kids, with your family. That's a tremendous idea. Yeah, get to it. Read scripture with your family. But when? What are your mile markers? And the best part there is everybody knows what the goal is and you're working toward the goal. And yes, you may fail and people will know you failed, but you have to speak those goals into existence and let other people know what they are, and you run the risk of failure and you have to step out and fight anyway. God gave you a year, time to go in and fight for it, which leads me to my next point. You will fail at times. Some of you have about had a heart attack. No, you're going to fail in life. You're going to fail. So what usually happens is people have this rigid diet plan, and of course they blow it because it wasn't realistic, and they fail maybe on January 20th, have that big slice of cake, and then they go, oh well, I quit. Or they'll say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the day after. I already blew it. I already ruined it. No, you didn't. You had a slip. That's not the end of the world. You had a slip. Now get back on track. That also falls under realistic. If we're being realistic, you're going to have slips. You're going to fall sometimes. And then you just start again the next day. You don't work extra hard or beat yourself up about it. You just get right back onto your normal routine. That's going to be your new normal routine. Because when you have a slip, a failure, you're either going to deny it and go, well, I didn't really want to do that anyway. I didn't fail. Live in your little la-la land. Or you're going to beat up on yourself, and of course the enemy says, give up, you're never going to get that book written. Give up, you're never going to finish your degree. Give up, you're never going to get family devotions in. And you have to learn to push that away and say, nope, I'm going to get up and try again. How many times? Maybe 365 this year, where you get back up and you try again. Everyone's going to fail. Only a few people watching this are going to try again. And that's what you've got to do. If you want to reach those goals by the end of this year, by the end of your life, you have to keep trying. You have to try again. So I know I just threw a lot at you, but if you really want to achieve your goal, you're going to have to make your goals measurable, where there is a risk that you'll fail. You're going to have to make them believable and realistic and not completely out there. But you're going to have to stretch yourself a little bit beyond your current capabilities. That's a very good thing to do. You're going to have accountability. You're going to have to tell someone about your goal. And again, run that risk of failing. Ooh, ouch. You need mile markers. This is how far I need to be here. This is how far I need to be here. This is how far I need to be here. Okay? And those mile markers where you check in with that accountability. Ooh, ouch. You're going to have to understand that you will fail and then get back up again, right? That's really super important. You need to make life changes with your goals, not January changes. Life changes, not January changes. Okay? So I threw a lot at you. What are some of your big goals for this year? if you're feeling really brave, you can comment down below or tell me what are some you achieved from last year? What are some tips you would have for people on reaching and achieving their goals for this new year? Remember, I love you. I believe in you. Thank you for what you do for Jesus and his kids. Get back up again. You can do it. All right. I'll see you next week on the Peach Buzz. Bye.